Okay, my everybody. Welcome,
What's going on?
welcome. Dua for joining us for our regularly scheduled communion on this Sunday afternoon. Dua Nutter. Dua Nutter. I saw a bunch of you all recognize the song in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So Dua for our devoted fans of Mrs. Music.
Yeah.
That track was the New Spirit track from the first album, A New Ambiance. So if you don't have the album, go to our website to download it today. Um, but before I get into more shameless plugs, we're going to start today's communion with our prayer, and then we'll go into the roll call, and then we'll hear from the sit. Oh. All right, so can everyone please join me in our prayer by saying, I'm a tuum panatir, sauek tuum intempanatir, audu auma, ketipa heru. We give homage to the Creator, who is like our Father and who is like our Mother, who is everything that we can perceive and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything and yet is no one thing, who comes to us in the form of the Netzaru Ra, who is the light of the heavens, the light of the inner planes, as well as the light of our lives, who shines the light for us on the path of Ma'ati, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and the endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light for those who are blind to the facts of their place, their position, and their responsibility in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akaru, true thought, word, and deed, to our highest reality. And in our moments of crisis, in the dark nights of the soul, when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down, so it is, and so shall it be. Everyone say, Amen Ma'at.
Amen. Ma'at.
To our answer. All right, roll call. Let's see where y'all at. I saw some people already letting us know where they're joining us from. We got our elder, Sheps Ranub, joining us from the center of the universe, Brooklyn. Wait, why can't I scroll down and see? Oops, didn't mean to do that. Why can't I see the rest of the comments over here? I see Philly and over there in YouTube land and in Facebook land. We got East Orange. We got Bloomfield, New Jersey. We got Phoenix, Arizona. Onke Ma'at, Raka Session. We got Hyattsville, Maryland. More energy from East Orange. Let me see what else is going on. Dallas, Texas is in the building. Spartanburg, South Carolina is in the building. New Haven, Connecticut, Hamden, Connecticut, Columbia, South Carolina, Newark, New Jersey, and Oakland, California. Oh, and Plainfield, New Jersey. Shout out Plainfield.
Okay.
Yes, do our nutter. Anybody else in the chat want to tell us where they hailing from? Up in here in the room, we got the Kurt Hev with us, hailing from Newark, New Jersey. Y'all know he's always here to help us with our technical behind the scenes, make sure the lighting is right and everything else. We also have the Kapresh in the building from representing the Bronx. Newcastle, Delaware is here. Newark, Delaware is here. Dua Nutter. Yes, yes. Dua Nutter, we always are grateful when we get to be able to see where you all are joining us from, and be able to connect with you all in this way. Staten Island is in the house. Uncle Ma'at Aboot. I gotta admit, I think I said this last time, but it's the roll call is what we miss about when we go back to in-person communions. So even though the in-person experience has things that are really valuable, that we love and that we enjoy, and we look forward to getting back to the in-person experience, but when we do, we're gonna miss the roll call. We're gonna miss being able to connect with y'all in this way. So before I turn it over to Nasit, just a quick couple quick announcements. Again, a new ambiance, a new radiance, and the Weapon Pet album, all comedic mood music, metaphysical mood music by our Nasit Biddy Rasanku Kepper, available for digital download or physical CDs on our website, templeofanew.org. So if you don't have copies of those albums, get them today. Add to your collection. Allow, using that comedic music to build your energy up, help you with your meditation space, help you with your ritual space, and just help with your overall mood. Dua Nata for that contribution and for the work that you're working on now. That I know I'm excited when you release it because it's already sounded good. So when y'all hear it, y'all gonna be like, oh, this embodied it again.
Spring in the summertime, we're gonna have a video this time. You know, we're gonna do it up for real and official.
Yeah. So on that there. And then the last announcement I'm going to make, we got our first Ion Kemet introductory class starting on February 4th. We already have a number of students who have signed up and registered. It's not too late to register if you're interested. The first Ion class is for people who are new to the legacy and want to learn more. Or maybe you're not new to the legacy, but you want to learn how we do things in the Temple of Anu. You want to ground the information that you've been studying on your own or get a different perspective. You want the opportunity to continue your studies and further your studies. Lastly, if you're interested in initiation into the Temple of Anu, the first Ion Kemet class is the first required step for initiation, regardless of your background or foundation, how much you've been studying on your own or with anyone else. You have to take first Ion Kemet with us if you're interested in initiating into the Temple of Anu. So reach out to us, templeofanu@gmail.com, or send us a message on Facebook or Instagram and let us know if you need more information. Again, we're starting on February 4th, so that's just 2 weeks away. That's 2 short weeks. You got 2 short weeks to reach out and to register if you're interested. So that's all I got.
Okay. Got Nebraska. They still going with the roll call. It's like a 5-second delay.
Yes. And also Jason just joined us. I'll give my eye, Jason.
Yeah. All right, so I'll start off by saying Uncle Ja Seneb Neb. That's life, strength, and health to all. And, you know, that's an appropriate thing to say since we've been through what we've been through in the past couple of years. So, and I thank everyone for wishing me well, because I know everybody heard me coughing and still hear me coughing, and some people have some concern with that. But I'll say this. Those who know me well, like every 2 or 3 years in the winter, if I do take ill, the main attribute that stands out is not the blowing of the nose, not the feeling bad. It's just a cough, and it kind of lingers for a couple of weeks. So that's normal. And I would say, so now if you see me in July around my birthday, if I'm hacking like this, then you give me the official side eye. And I'm taking all the stuff, the ginger and all of that stuff, and this is what it is. And everyone has their own process, their healing process, and how their body deals with things. So that's mine. With that being said, both of us had COVID, but we didn't test positive, or we didn't test. Several people around us had it. They tested positive. So certain symptoms we had, we just surmised like, okay, I guess that's it. But yours wasn't severe, right?
No, I was sick for about 24 hours.
So mine wasn't severe. So we was not anywhere close to going to the doctor or the hospital.
No breathing problems.
So we wasn't taking up beds. So it comes down to our lifestyle, what we were doing before COVID for the past several years, or even just our lifestyle before that. It wasn't like we was going out our way to do anything specific to not catch COVID. It was just what it is that we do. We cycle through some things. So it's a testament to how you live, your lifestyle, the discipline that you live before you come down with a health crisis, and not how you treat something, because the word treat is a legal term. We have to be careful, us in the naturopathic field, we have to be careful with the language we use. So how we address the issue as we're going through it will determine the severity of the disease, or what they say, reduce death. Mm-hmm. So did you see the connection I made? So what they said the vaccine does is reduce the severity of the disease as well as reduce the chances of death. That's what our lifestyle did for us. So yeah, we caught it, but our lifestyle, the Kemetic lifestyle, the Kemetic approach to living in a healthy way has reduced the severity of that disease, and we're still here. So it took away took away death. So with that being said, this whole topic is a very sensitive topic. It's a very polarizing topic. It's a very divisive topic. So throughout the course of the past 3 years, we found, even amongst our brother and sister in our community that we actually have polarizing or diametrically opposed views on this whole situation and how we think that we're supposed to deal with it. So I want to just put it out there that as a grown man, as an adult, I will never disrespect my brothers and sisters just because we have a disagreement. I will never use my influence to discourage people for trusting my brothers and sisters in their current contributions or their former contributions just because we disagree on a matter. Disagreement is the whole nature of life, and if we're adults about it, we'll grow from the circumstance or the situation. So when we look at it in its proper context, some of us have knowledge and authority on specific things. So some of us have authoritative knowledge on certain things. For instance, I've been a certified nutritional consultant since since 2003. So I'm a naturopathic health professional, and I stay up on the cutting edge of my technology. I can confer with people who know just as much or more. I stay up on the scientific journals and the things that the doctors are writing about health, not just COVID, but health in general. So I'm staying current on what it is that I know. So now when something affects our community, such as a health crisis affect our community, you'll see a person like myself step up with authority because of my education and my training on this thing called health. Now watch how we set it up. Now there's other concepts that people out there are concerned about. We have things like the critical race theory and should it be taught in schools and things like that. And then when some foolish people get up and say, oh, the Egyptians are not black, they never were African, and then that's when you'll see my brother Hemneta Jabari step up because his education is in Africana studies. And he has a book called 7 Little White Lies That People Should Get, which is really an indirect judgment about critical race theory and white privilege and how they indirectly flaunt their white privilege in our faces. So when things like that come up, you'll see Jabari take the forefront. And ironically, even in our Kemetic community, the reason why he's probably more known than myself is because those conversations tend to dominate even the Kemetic platforms. People always want to talk about racism or white folks or whatever. If y'all notice, that's not what I do over here. So now that this health thing that's been happening in the past 3 years, I step up because health is my thing. Because that's what it is that I do. I'm not wilding out. I'm not making a bigger thing than what it is. It is just what I do. Just like when it comes to health, he doesn't emphasize speaking on health over there because that's not his strong suit. I hope this makes sense on why we talk about what it is that we talk about. So when you all come to these different platforms, you're coming to us so we could give you information so you can make an informed decision about certain things in your life. Not for us to dictate what it is that you're going to do or what it is that you should do. We give the information. We have intelligent dialogue about it, a balanced dialogue and discussion, taking into consider the views, your own views and opposing views, and we try to take it going forth from there. And we also know that there's different demographics that listen to all of these platforms. Certain people from other platforms listen to us over here. Certain people from our platform listen to other platforms. Certain people from other platforms don't mess with us over here, and vice versa. So we know that there's a demographic of you all that you make your decisions based on your sensibilities. So if you have certain excuse me, you have certain people that's into the natural health and naturopathic sciences, they'll be like, Masuk got it right. I'm trying to figure out how to do this thing naturally. And for those who don't take responsibility and accountability for their own health, and they're not into leaning on Medicaid or health systems and things like that, they be like, them fools over there is crazy. They not doctors. They're up here trying to self-diagnose. They need to follow the science. They need to listen to the doctors. So that conversation is always going to go on in our community, within our community. It's what makes and keeps life interesting. But, so let's have this discussion. So if you're part of this conscious community, you know that there's several tiers and layers And if you're honest with yourself, you'll see what I'm talking about by the end of this discussion. So especially if you're over 35, I don't know about the people under 30, they're kind of coming in now and they kind of got to make, they think everything is all the same. But the original conscious community came as byproducts of Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Dr. Van Sertima, what other doctors? A lot of doctors. So the original conscious community was a think tank. So we used to consider that the Kemetic community, but in reality, they was not the Kemetic community. They were a think tank that used Kemet as their inspiring example on what it is that we needed to do to move forward. Very intelligent and powerful people came from that movement. Now, there was something that didn't come after, but at the same time, it kind of layered on top of it. Then you had like our elder Baba Haru, who sat at the feet of those masters, but in the same day and time, he decided to have a question like, okay, yeah, it's good to talk about it, but he wanted to find out what this Kemetic thing do. So he was bold and started experimenting with the Hesses and the chanting, bringing back the dress, the lifestyle. They brought back fasting and cleansing and more of the mystical dimensions of being Kemetic, and not just being Kemetic, being African and spiritual, and the finer details of what that may look like as a way of life. So that was happening simultaneously. And then under that was another layer that didn't happen after, but kind of simultaneously. You had something called the Metaphysical Underground. And a lot of people, it was there the whole while. A lot of people don't want to recognize it. Some people are embarrassed by it. You had your field that consisted of Dr. Phil Valentine, Bobby Hemmett, Dr. Blair, Dr. Joel Pookrum. And so that was the Metaphysical Underground. It was more of those people also, and they're disrespectfully called conspiracy theorists now, which is interesting because a lot of things that they predicted actually came to pass. Not 100%, but a lot of things that they were forewarning our community about how this government is moving is now coming into fruition. So we got to give them their respect. Nobody's 100% correct anyway, because we're all evolving. The more information we get, the more our views grow and evolve also. So that then after that came about, I guess, 20 years ago, with the advent of social media and YouTube. You got your Sarnetas, your Sarah Sutan Setis, your Shaka Akmos, and they were kind of like a throwback to the original conscious community think tank with Kemet as the expiring example. But they were way more militant. They was Black Power. They was very militant. But my point in bringing all of this up is, if you were a part of that, if you go back 15, 20 years and you were a part of it, there was always this theme of never trust the establishment. Mm-hmm. Never trust white folks, if you want to say it. And so when this virus 19 thing happened, it was interesting to see where people stood. We was taught not to trust the establishment. Then it became follow the science, follow the doctors. And then the flag came up with me when they was like, we want the blacks to take it first. You're like, hold up, what? Since when did we become priority? Just a few weeks earlier, we was asking them about reparations and they ain't have nothing to say to us. But when this thing came, they wanted us to step up first. So that was flags for me. And if you come from this community, when it came to your health, if you're honest with yourself, they were always teaching not to trust the doctors. They said, okay, if you got to get surgery, you're going to have to go to the doctor. You can't operate on yourself. You can't set your own bone. Go to the doctor. You might have to do it for that. They also taught that the doctors were good at diagnosing, because it's very dangerous to self-diagnose a lot of times. So they like, go to the doctor, get your diagnosis, but get you a nice naturopathic person after that. After you figure out what's wrong with you, go to the natural person. If we're honest with ourselves, that's what we was learning. That's what we were learning and teaching. Get yourself a naturopathic doctor. And if it gets that bad, you work with a naturopathic doctor in tandem with an allopathic doctor. That's what it was that we were taught. And from the conscious community, you had your Dr. Sebis, your Queen of Fools, your Dr. Joel Pookrum, who faced and conquered the demons of cancer, leukemia, diabetes, high blood pressure, what else? Fibroids. things like that, and they had an excellent success rate. Nobody's 100%. The science is not 100%.
Right.
So this brings me back to what it was that I was saying at the beginning 3 years ago when I said, I don't know, I think these were my exact words. I said, we all gonna have to get that code. We're all gonna have to get that code in order for our body to acclimate for its further mutations. I said it was no avoiding it. Because what we learned from our teachers in the conscious movement, the health conscious movement, that you learn to cleanse, you know, learn how to rebuild, and you learn how to maintain. So all these principles work for cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, fibroids. So COVID-19 was no different. It wasn't special. It wasn't alien. So now we're starting to see them backtrack off a lot of things that they were planting in our heads. Now you're seeing that the mandate is ruled unconstitutional. Now even in Europe, just several days ago, they're taking back their restrictions on COVID and the masks and stuff. Now you're finding out that the mask, the 2 masks, the 3 masks was not scientific, and they said it didn't really help that much at all. And now they're saying that if you catch the Omicron, it's going to give you super immunity, possibly, for all the future variants. Because remember, I was talking about, excuse me, I was talking about the gut bacteria. Remember, I said there's a certain percentage of your body that consists of bacteria and virus. This is called the microbiome. The microbiome is responsible for our symbiotic relationship to our life on Earth. Now, according to Dr. Deepak Chopra, he says 30% of our microbiome is gone. That's serious. 30% of our microbiome is gone due to poor dietary choices and poor dietary mixing of the food. So now, listen to what that says. 30% of the microbiome is gone. I taught way back in February 3 years ago, I said 70% of your immune system is in your gut, meaning your microbiome. If 70% of your immunity is in your microbiome, and they're saying, current research is saying that 30% of your microbiome is gone, so your immune system is cut 30%. So is COVID really this big bad thing, or was our health compromised in the first place? Those are the things that it was. That's what I was trying to discuss for the past 3 years, getting our health up to par. And maybe this thing is not as bad as you think it is. That's why I said lifestyle is going to reduce the severity of disease or reduce the chances of death. So how do you catch something like this? You catch it through the viral load. Meaning, so if somebody sneezes and you walk through that little mist that they sneeze through, it is a possibility you could catch it. But it's not, if you're healthy, it's not likely. Now, there's a difference in walking through someone's mist that had COVID, that coughed or sneezed, and there's in contrast to someone who's living in your home and you having to treat them and help them recover from COVID. So what they're breathing in the air is going to expose you to a whole next level or another level of viral load. 2, to determine whether you're going to get it or not, is the comorbidities. Comorbidities is things like obesity, morbid obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure. 3, the third thing that determines is an aberration in your immunity, or are you immunocompromised? Didn't I just say a few seconds ago that according to certain people's research, 30% of our microbiome is gone? Mm-hmm. So everyone's immunity is pretty much compromised. You don't know that till something like this comes. When you go to your doctor and you get your checkup, no one's checking for your immunity. No one's checking for your microbiome to see if your immune system is working and functioning at its highest capacity. It took something like this coronavirus thing for us to find out that we was missing 30% of our immune system. Mm-hmm. So now the conversation seemed like it delineated down to, is it anti-vax versus vax, or is it vax hesitancy versus vax? When in reality, it's going to come down to, what it's really coming down to is those who are self-accountable and self-responsible and those who are not. You have a faction of the society that's not, they don't want to take the vaccine because they don't want nobody telling them what to do. My body, my choice. Don't tell me what to do. Fine. But that's different from being self-accountable and self-responsible. So you can say, my body, my choice, don't tell me what to do, but then you're still following SAD. You're still following the standard American diet. So when you come up against that monster, you're going to be in trouble, and you're not going to have reduced severity of disease. You might actually die. So a lot of the people that are dying are those people that's just taking hard stances against taking the vax, but they're not taking hard stances far as their responsibility for their health. So there's a certain community of ourselves that know protocols before, no protocols during, no protocols after, and we're fine. We have the reduced severity of the disease and the death. So now, another fact is 80% of the people dying from this thing are elderly, people 80 years old or older. I don't know too many people 80 years old or older, so they're something's going on with the numbers. That, as well as those who are obese. So it's 80 years old or older. I gotta just say it like this so I can get it out. Old fat people or fat people. At the end of the day, that's what it's coming down to. I know it's politically incorrect. They want everybody to say everything nice, and it takes us twice as long to say it. But what they're finding out is that this virus proliferates in fat. So what they can't say is that fat people have been spreading this virus, or obese people have been spreading the virus. What does that mean? That means if we're in a room with 50 people and 15 of those people are obese, that viral load that they're breathing in the air is what's causing the spread. Like, as unfortunate as it sounds, it is what it is. But obesity is within our control. But you're not going to hear them say eat right. You're not going to hear them say fast. You're not going to hear them say cleanse, because then that affects their economic bottom line. Because then we got to pull them soda machines out the school. Because it ain't just old fat people dying, it's younger fat obese people dying also. So you have to pull the soda, the junk food, and you can't mess with people's junk food. So what do? They just say, get the jab. It ain't even a jab now. Get the four jabs now. And that'll be easier. What's interesting is I spoke to Baba Haru the other day, and he says he drinks or he eats garlic, honey, and ginger every day. And he said that keeps the phlegm fluid, because originally this COVID thing was a respiratory disease. And sometimes when people say things, but they say it in a way like, bang, like, yeah, that makes sense. Keep the mucus fluid, and if you were to get this thing, you're not going to be struggling with the hard mucus and trying to get this mucus out. You're good. It'll probably be light. It'll probably be less severe. And then now we have to contend with people say, well, what did the science say? That's unscientific. That's anecdotal. And now we're walking this thin line between scientific and anecdotal. Our African tradition always had this very thin line between anecdotal and scientific. What people are calling the scientific method, or what they're understanding to be the scientific method, or how they do it now, is relatively new. But so you have the scientific method, and then you have anecdotal on this side. So the anecdotal comes from the human experience. So now here we are, we're Homo sapiens sapiens. Before that, it was Homo sapien. Before that, it was Homo erectus. Before that, it was a bunch of homos. Back millions of years. So what happens is we have human culture for millions of years, things that are passed genetically, things that are passed traditionally on the side of the human being and the anecdotal experience. So science says you can't trust all that. That's anecdotal. That's cute. So what are we talking about with anecdotal? That means when we say those things like, well, my mother took the shot and such happened to her. Well, Hassetti knew somebody and such happened to him. So we can have a story of 10, 20 people that make our evidence against, or that gives us concern about taking things like shots. So the scientific side will say, well, according to the scientific method, we've determined what's right and what's wrong. So even though those situations which are people are interested in, is just not true. So they'll dismiss it. And that's what's called anecdotal evidence. So So the question we have to ask is, so is human beings supposed to not live? Are they supposed to not follow proven family remedies until science decides they want to check it out? Because everything that science is based on is from studying anecdotal things. They be like, oh, y'all said something about black seed, or let us study it. Oh, yeah, we did find out there is some truth to the black. So we ain't got time for them to catch up to millions of years of human history and human tradition and family traditions passed on. So the anecdotal side. So I spoke to Bob Earl. He said he takes the ginger, the honey, and what was the last thing? Garlic. Mm-hmm. He's an island man. There's certain people that's foundational. Black Americans, they have their family remedies. So we got our islanders have remedies. The foundational Black Americans have remedies, and we all confirm with each other. So we'll say something like, how did you not get sick during this COVID thing? How did you not get sick severely? And you'd be like, yeah, I took my garlic, such and such. I took my black seed oil. My mother used to give it to me when I was a kid, and then knocked it out and knocked everything out. You'd be like, word, that worked? Yeah, they'd be like, it's working for me now. Some people still haven't got sick yet. So they got that from their mother. Their mother got it from their mother. Their mother got it from their. So here you got this tradition of things that's been working. And best believe if it wasn't working, we wouldn't be doing it. So in the traditional sense, that so-called anecdotal evidence is what we could call the soft science. Something is working. We might not understand the mechanism. We might not use the scientific language, but something was working, more or less. Is it 100%? No. But now we're finding out that the science is not 100%. We've seen them change the goal, move the goalpost several times in this whole process. At one time, they said we only needed 50% of the people to take the shot to get herd immunity, and that went up to 60%, then it went up to 70%, then it went up to 80%. Now these fools talking about they want 100% of the population to get it in order for us to get control of it. That's moving the goalpost. And then they told us that breakthrough infections were rare. Now we find out that it's not rare. Now we find out Omicron is coming through just disrespecting all the vaccine. None of the vaccine got no answer for the Omicron. So science is not seeming so scientific now. Just like the anecdotal evidence of our traditions is not necessarily 100%, but it worked for some people, and for certain people it didn't. So now we find out the same with science. It works for some people and it don't work for certain people. So science is now on the same ground as our traditions. Now we walking that thin line between anecdotal and scientific. Now I saw somebody post online last week and just said some of your favorite social media people got COVID, and these are the same people telling you that you was gods and goddesses. I was like, okay. Like a side of me could get emotional and be like, oh, that's messed up. But let's just have a discussion about it. We don't gotta be disrespectful. We have to have the discussion about what is your concept of God, goddesses, or divinity, or how those beings even move. So we understand that the all is mental, the universe is consciousness. So our principles are perfect, but the discrepancy comes with our demonstration of those principles in right measure. So throughout this process, I seen people panic, because at the beginning of this COVID thing, we lost Dr. Sebi, we lost Dr. Africa, we lost Dr. Credo Mutwa, he's a spiritual healer. Mm-hmm. We lost Kalindi Iyi. That was all within a month's time, and we had communion on each one of those deaths. So it was like one communion we heard about it in live time, then the next communion be like, oh, Kalindi died, like damn. The next communion, Dr. Africa died, was like, yo, what's going on? So some of y'all was out there panicking. They were like, well, if Dr. Sebi died and he was a genius with his health thing, I'm in trouble because I don't take my thing that serious. What are we gonna do? Then Dr. Africa was going like, oh my God, another genius. If he was on it like that and I'm not that serious about my health, I don't know a lot about it, I'm in trouble. Credo Mutwa died. He's a spiritual healer. He died of cancer. You'd be like, well, if he died of cancer, then we don't stand a chance. So yeah, I heard that saying, "What another man eat doesn't make me."
Doo-doo.
Yeah. So that's what this is. So Dr. Ab, all of these people, they've had challenges for their day and time, and their knowledge and the things that they figured out shifted, changed, and transformed many people's lives. But science just want to call it anecdotal. Like if you going through something and you got cancer and you saw Dr. Sebi or Dr. Africa, and after you finish seeing them and your diagnosis ain't come back up, you don't care if it's called anecdotal or scientific. You be like, I'm good, thank you. That's how we move in our community. We ain't gonna go to the science journals and like, yo, I want to report back to y'all that this protocol that Queen of Fu and Dr. Africa had me on is working, and y'all, it don't work like that. We get it, we keep it moving, and we spread it word of mouth. That's how it goes. So now, why did they die? It's none of our business. That's between them, the Creator, and their ancestors. The thing is, they were placed with challenges in their day and time, and we're given challenges for our day and time. They're no longer with us in the physical. So now there's things that we have to figure out. That's what it is. We have to figure things out. So what does that have to do with gods and goddesses? So we listen to the myths. We listen to the myths, and remember we'll say something about Ra. Remember Ra had got bitten. Ra had got bitten by a scorpion, and he needed Orset to help heal him. And Orset like, nah, I don't know if I'm gonna heal you, but if you give me your magic name, so I could give to my son Heru for his inheritance, so he could rule, then I'll heal you. So Ra had to acquiesce. He didn't want to die. So based off of how y'all think out there, you're like, I thought Ra was the creator. Why did he get bit by a scorpion? Right? That's how I thought he was a god. Then y'all be like, well, if he was a god, how come he didn't know how to heal himself? Same thing y'all asking all the rest of us. If you was a god, why did this happen? If you was God, why'd you get sick? And so here we saw Ra, who was supposed to be a god or a Rish or a Netru, took ill, and he needed help. He got conditional help, but he needed help. Then we have Asar. He'd be like, well, if he was a god, why didn't he intuit that Satesh was going to kill him? If he was a god, why did he needed Orset to reconstitute his 14 pieces? Why didn't he just heal himself if he was a god? That's how people think. Then the other question is, why is Orset so damn gangster? I thought she was supposed to be a goddess and stuff. So based off of y'all type of questioning, gods aren't really gods. So the whole point is, we're meant to question everything. We're meant to question the myths, but not to prove or disprove. The myths is to unveil layers. The Christians would call it revelations. I call it unvelations. Revelations reveal, meaning something was covered up, and when you read something, that's covering it up again. So we're trying to unveil. So we study the myths to unveil layers of our possibilities of how things could go. So what you learn through the myths is one thing could be true at one level, and it could not be true at another level. Over the course of the years, I've seen people change their diet and their health trajectory over the years. Back, some of the vegetarians and the vegans are going to be upset. Back 30 years ago, vegetarianism and veganism was the thing. And it was working for a lot of people. People were sick, they were ill, they followed the Dr. Sebis, the Dr. Africas, the Queen of Fools, they followed it and they healed themselves. Why? Because how they were living 15, 20, 30 years before, they were living foul. They were living off code. They was eating poor foods, poor quality foods, poor food combining and things like that that compromise their health. So when they come with the eating green and the live foods, all of that worked. But when I confer with people from back then, a lot of them are not vegetarians anymore. A lot of them are not vegans no more. Reputable people in that community. Also, when I spoke to them, what they just said, they said, the cleansing diet is good for a period. Like, remember, this is just views and opinions. I ain't saying this is what it is. talking about through my interactions and my excursions in the world. They just said it's good for a while, and after a while, it works against you. So cleansing, these people found out that by properly food combining and adding in strategically, adding in certain animal products, they feel like their health was better than it's ever been before vegetarianism or veganism, and even doing veganism. I'm not promoting for or against. I'm just letting you know that something could be true on at one phase of your journey and not necessarily true at the next phase of your journey. That's what we learn through mythology. We learn different levels and different layers of truth. So now, what I just said about the deities, the Neteru, Asar, Aset, Ra, Heru. There's a Kemetic proverb that's translated to this: men are mortal gods and gods are immortal men. You heard that? Mm-hmm. So now, we just went through seeing the deities go through crises. So now, if we're offspring of them deities and the deities went through crises, we got to go through crises too. So we can't have this, oh, why you sick? I thought you were supposed to be gods and goddesses. Like Negro, the gods and goddesses got sick and they went through some things. So if the God, the Neteru, the divine beings had to go through things, and we're the offspring of those divine beings, we're going to have to go through some things through also. So the point of that narrative is stop throwing tantrums. Stop throwing tantrums and stop doubting your whole tradition and your whole legacy when things don't work out ideally. So we're in a position of Ra, we're in a position of Asar, we're in a position of Heru. All of them were injured at one point, so they had to figure it out. So we have the tools to figure it out. If it didn't work one way, switch up some ways and try it again, try it another way. Divine beings, so-called gods and goddesses, they figure things out. That's the definitive answer to that statement. Now I know a lot of people are saying, like, well, we don't want to hear all that. We came here to hear about the legacy, and I just want to tell you, I'm always talking about the legacy, one way or another, every day, all day. I'm talking about the legacy. I'm just talking about it in a way that you're not used to. Several generations before me, they always dealt with the legacy with a historical undertone, which always seemed like it just always came back to racism. White people this and white people that, they got their foot on our neck, and we would be so much greater if they didn't do this thing to us. And so it kind of get locked into that, and that sounds empowering to people to be able to blame somebody why you ain't great no more. And then you have the other side of the polarity. You got the people that's into the culture, they into the mystical stuff, the mysticism, the magic, and those people want to hear about the next initiation or the next ritual that's going to somehow protect you from life. So here we have this historical thing that's serving as a positive distraction. It got you in la la land, that's stopping you from discussing what you're going through currently. And then you have this other spiritual thing, the mystical, magical thing that some people think is going to protect them from the hardships of life, and that's just not true. Our ancestors believe all the stuff that we believe, and they still had to go through the Middle Passage. So it ain't going to protect you from every little thing. So when I'm talking about being Kemetic, I'm talking about being Kemetic in context. I'm speaking to you the way your mind processes, listens, recognizes, and comprehends in the 21st century. That's what it is that we're doing here. So you did a reading of the year, and it says the deity of the year is Ma'at, right?
Correct.
Where can I get the reading of the year?
The reading of the year is available as an audio download on the temple website, templeofanew.org.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we have to deal with this concept of Ma'at. Ma'at means doing things in proper measure. So Ma'at is our greatest challenge. It's a high philosophy, but it's our greatest challenge. So in your journey of Ma'at, you're going to find out a lot of things that you thought were wrong are not necessarily wrong. A lot of things that you thought was right or righteous, you found out actually instigated negativity in the world. So this Ma'at journey is a study on duality. Mm-hmm. A study of learning everything in proper measure. So we constantly have this discussion in our community about drugs. I don't condone casual use of drugs. But there are things like ayahuasca, we got the mushroom, the iboga, that you have qualified individuals and keepers of tradition that facilitate this experience for you, not for you to get it on the black market and just do it casually and start claiming you spiritual just because you're trying to shortcut the process. So I support those things, but go by qualified priests and shamans of those traditions. So we don't do drugs casually as Kemites. We don't drink casually as Kemites. So yeah, there's libations with liquor, but if you understand, if you've seen libations in African traditions with liquor, they don't ingest it, they get it and they spit it out, or they spray it, because it's about the essence of that liquor. That essence represents fire. There's then the speaking of truth, and then there's being mean-spirited. Some people, oh, I just told them the truth. Like, okay, did it need to be said that way? What did you accomplish by saying the truth that way? Saying the right thing at the wrong time is evil. If the person is not able to receive it, you might as well like to curse their mother. So there's a difference between, you have to learn the difference between being honest and vindictive. So in our Kemetic community, these are hard lessons that we're learning in live time. We use the word ma'at, but everybody's I ain't gonna say everybody's stumbling. People are finding themselves challenged with the application of ma'at, because if not, the community would be in a much better predicament than it is. People are fumbling with trying to live by these principles. So ma'at, if you're immature, you might entertain the thought that the Ma'at philosophy doesn't bring peace. You're like, it's too hard to live up to all of that stuff. You'll think it's causing divisiveness. So now, what is when you think of Ma'at, and when y'all think of Ma'at, what symbol comes to mind? Feather. Shuti. What type of feather is that? Ostrich feather. So if you study, the ostrich is not known to be the most mothering animal in the animal kingdom. So it's interesting that Ma'at is connected to the ostrich, and it's not this nurturing force that y'all think Ma'at is, because y'all see it's the beautiful divine being with the wings and stuff. And like, but she's connected to a totem that's an ostrich, and a lot of people are scared of ostriches. I said ostriches are not necessarily nurturing. One thing you're going to learn from the animal kingdom is the nurturing only goes so far. Why? Because they understand that their animal nature is inherent in their DNA. So a lion doesn't need a book to be a lion. An ostrich doesn't need a book to be an ostrich. Is at some point the ostrich intuitively knows that their ostrich nature better kick in or they're gonna die. The lion knows the lion nature gotta kick in or they're gonna die. So Ma'at, as this mother, she's expecting us to figure things out fast, not handhold us, because divinity is inherent in our DNA. See, we get into this thing, we want people to care. People, at the end of the day, people don't care. Or there's a limit to people's caring. We want people to just somehow intuitively just know everything we want and need. Like, oh my God, I needed that. Oh my God, you said the right thing at the right time. But oh, I love you because you gave me what I wanted and what I needed. And then sometimes we get so heartbroken and disappointed when people don't get us. And then we start thinking, oh, they don't love me because they don't understand. If they love me, they wouldn't have did this or they would have did this. And then we start realizing, you all are realizing as adults, there's only so far that the caring goes. At some point, people don't care about what you've been through. People don't care about what you're going through because they've been through some things and they're going through things. So intuitively, we all know at some point or another, we got to grow up, and our inherent divinity is supposed to kick in. You're supposed to figure some things out without all the hand holding. So the lion don't get a book to be a lion. The ostrich doesn't get a book to be a lion, but the human being who's supposed to be the direct reflection of divine need books and readings and all of this stuff. So with all the books and the texts and the readings, everybody's life should be lovely or well on the way to being lovely. So what do we learn from the ostrich? The ostrich is known to have acute sight as well as hearing. I find that interesting that the ostrich is known for acute sight and hearing. What is the The sesh metal, that's a word for sight or seeing. Ma'ah. The word ma'ah is the root to ma'at. It means to see. So our ancestors were wise in making this connection between the ostrich feather, and ma'at. So you have ma'at to see and sejum to hear. So it's not just to hear, it's to listen. What is the ostriches are known for their acute sight and their hearing to protect them and their young ones from the lions, from being food. So what we learn from the ostrich is sight to see patterns. So priests and priestesses are fluent at recognizing and interpreting patterns. And now we have listening, not hearing, but listening, being able to perceive from your environment. So being able to see patterns and interpret patterns and picking up energy from your environment, this is what creates what we call intuition. And the intuition helps you see the patterns, begin to recognize the patterns of danger and how to avoid it. But readings and divination is not just to avoid the bad patterns, it's helping you to recognize also the good too, in which direction to go. I think I fulfilled my obligation of speaking about current events and comedic knowledge and stuff, so I'll end it on saying this. I want to say big up to the initiates. I want to say big up to the initiates who honor their commitments. I want to say that. There needs to be said that. Big up to the initiates who honor their commitment, because there's a demographic of initiates out there who don't honor their commitments. It's actually bigger, larger demographic of initiates out there who don't honor their commitments and stuff. So big up to the ones who show up on time and do their duty. Big up to the ones that's here now, the ones of us that when we're on camera and we got to deal with the criticism, the complaining, and the condemning from the rest of the demographic out here talking about, oh, I don't like that, what they do. I disagree about that and what they do. Why they wear the white, why they doing the yoga. We do what we do because it works for us. At the end of the day, that's the short answer. We do what it is that we do because it works for us. So I want to close by giving you this message. I want to close by saying it's time to deal with the 500-pound elephant in the room. Human culture has changed over the past 3 years. Severely changed through the quarantine and the isolation. So people got used to the quarantine and the isolation. So it's changed human culture. So when we went back to communion, some people were complaining like, where's everybody at? Why isn't everyone showing up? Like, fine, yeah, we got the virus out there, but that's starting to slowly go away now. So we could be like, Kemmunion would be like, yo, so I'm gonna see you at Temple. And people would be like, this Sunday, this Sunday, what time? Oh man, I ain't gonna be able to make it. Then it becomes be like, okay, that's just, remember, we only meet every other Sunday. So you be like, okay, so that Sunday is bad for you, that time is bad for you. So the next Sunday is not good either. The one after that is not good. So 6 months worth of Sundays, none of those things are good. We ain't seen certain people in 4 years. So it's either a gross mismanagement of time or the 500-pound elephant in the room. This thing just isn't important to you as you thought. This culture, the way the culture shifted, changed how you feel about everything, even this. So some people be like, well, it's not exciting at the prospect to see Kemmunion or the Curry Hebb or him because I see them online. I communicate with them online every day, all day, when in reality, you're not communicating with us online. You seeing Kemmunion post a couple of his thoughts several times a day, but that's not the same as communicating with someone online. So then the tricks start happening again. They be like, okay, since I ain't gonna make it, how can I get that information that they got down there? Secondly, and how can I get it for free? And if it's not free, I'm willing to pay for it, but I want to be able to watch it on my own time. I don't want to have to, now start sounding like the shots. Don't tell me what to do. I ain't got to go down there. So I don't want to have to do it on their time or the ordained time. Mm-hmm. So now we're seeing the I'm not saying that I got the answer for it. I'm saying we have to be adults and realize that we're getting swept up in the way things are going, and some of us like it, and you're okay with it, and it's shifting your thoughts and feelings about what is sacred and what is not. These things were predicted 50 years ago by psychologists and stuff. They said 50 years ago, they said the way we currently interact with each other would become irrelevant. And so that came with the advent of social media. And they also said that communication, the way we communicate with each other or before 10 years ago, is going to become irrelevant, and communication is going to supersede what's being communicated. Yeah, you got to catch that. Communication is going to supersede what's being communicated. That means when you're in the metaverse or online and you're going down these rabbit holes, just because you ain't even filtering what it is that you're watching, what it is that you're reading. You're just getting data, and you don't even know what to filter, what's good or what's not. So those things is happening. So, and information will be the commodity. So now here we are, the advent of social media. Now no one wants to do what we used to traditionally do as human beings, which was to congregate, which was to meet, which was to share energy. Now people want to do everything online. They want the option online. As soon as you say, yo, we doing such and such and such, will it be online? Like, it ain't because they sick or they too far. It's just like they want that option not to have to do it. So now I was studying, like I'm studying music and engineering and things like this. So there was a time when people who were responsible for the records that we listened to, those engineers went to school and they spent $50,000 to $75,000 to get knowledge to make our records sound and feel the way that we feel. Now with the advent of social media, people like, oh, I got my iPad and my MacBook Pro. I could do that at home. We ain't got to spend $150 an hour. While those professionals understood sound, they understood how sound moved, they understood how to treat a room. So now you done took all of that out the picture. Now you think you can imitate what those cats did. You don't understand how sound moves. You don't know how to treat a room and things like that. But you think it's your right to be able to, or someone owes you the opportunity to do what these trained professionals do. Isn't that the same thing that happens with spirituality? They'd be like, I could study the natural on my own. I got books. I don't need initiations and expensive initiations. I don't need to join groups. And then when they get themselves in a predicament, when that veil from the spiritual realm starts pulling back and they find out that all spirits are not nice and all spirits are not good, then they get themselves in a predicament because the books ain't telling, the stuff online ain't telling, and they get themselves in a predicament. A lot of people that left Christianity and Islam got into the African, oh yeah, my culture, my ancestors this, my ancestors that. They didn't get initiated, they didn't get no guidance, and those same people ran back to the church and mosque and now calling what we do demonic and evil because they didn't have guidance, because they wanted to skip levels because communication superseded what was being communicated. So I just wanted to leave y'all on that thoughts. Those are just some random thoughts I was having. I don't have the answer to it. This is something we got to work out, and we got to pretty much hold each other to the level with. So if you got into this tradition, and certain things we hold standard, or certain things hold sacred, we got to hold each other to it, because if we don't hold it up, what becomes of us? I'll leave it at that. So thank you for your time, your energy. And I apologize for the coughing. I think I did pretty good.
You did pretty good. Dua Nutter. And Dua for leaving us with such a profound thought for us to meditate on and reflect on as we continue our journey in understanding ourselves and understanding our culture and understanding our community and coming together as people in order to affect and raise the vibration of ourselves and our communities, our families, and ultimately of our world. So Dua Nutter. If you got something out of this message and you would like to contribute to the movement, to the work that Nasir and I and the Temple of Anu are doing, we appreciate and thank you in advance for your gestures of reciprocity in the form of donations. Reciprocity donations can be sent by Cash App to $ Temple of Anu or by PayPal to templeofanu@gmail.com. We again appreciate that form of energy, as it does help us to continue and advance the work that we do. If you haven't already downloaded the reading of the year, go to templeofanew.org to download the reading of the year. You can also pick up Nasut's albums there. We spoke about that earlier. And reach out to us if you're interested in First Down Kemet. Otherwise, we will see you here on Facebook and YouTube Live 2 weeks from today on Sunday, February 6th. Do on that to everyone and Shamim Matep.
Shit, man, what's up?
So,